Alright peeps, welcome back to Split City. In the last episode we reclaimed our evergreen swamp slash floodplain and built some fancy little housing estates on it. So why don't we dive on in to our fancy pants Northeast American situation here down by the canal. The Sims absolutely love it, even the bushes that poke through. Now we are missing a few key bridges and a few key upgrades, particularly our here at the good old-fashioned French estate. The Sims in the French estate here have been kicking off because all we've done is take away from them the given out back. We completely stripped their medical centre and we left them with nothing but derelict land while we upgraded and made the UK estate all fancy, the Japanese estate all fancy, and the Chinese estate all fancy. So this episode we're gonna make the French real fancy. And of course we need to start by dezoning some properties, knocking out some lane connections. I'm sorry about that, Mr. Pub. You're just gonna have to bloody deal with it for now. Because I've got some mad ideas that are gonna make Pink Lane pretty much unrecognisable. But of course, we're not gonna pause the game while we do that, and we didn't want to absolutely ruin everyone's lives. So let's get a fancy gravel road out. Yous can stop whinging, and then we can commence Operation French Quarter. Now the first thing we're gonna do, on this little corner here, is pick this beautiful building with its lovely bottle top roof and pop 3 more of them down. That's right, we're getting all 4 corners bottle topped up. And it's definitely not because I want to do another square later on and I'm telling myself I'm not allowed to do it. But anywho, let's real casually get these all lined up nice and smooth and proper like. And there we have our beautiful buildings there, all squared up to each other. Tell you what, this French Quarter's gotta be something else when we're done like. Now because this is all fancy and historic, we're gonna make it all pedestrian roads, at least where it makes sense, including upgrading this laddie to be a one-way out. Now at some points along the way here, I am gonna have to whip out like an alley for example, so I can get a 2-way action here so we can have people turning right and continuing left. But before we build too much more, let's delete with temporary gravel road. Gone into our signature buildings here. Because I want to pop all 4 of these fancy French buildings down here. And it's this building that I'm stopping myself from placing 4 times in a big old square. Because it would look so good. But don't do it, MiGly. Don't do it. It's a cheap out. So instead we're going to start with this tidy little number. And that should allow us to have a proper little place to pop our road in. We're going from the middle here all the way down. And connect in nice and tidily like that. And then we can connect our temporary gravel road up again so the pub can stop whinging. But Pink Lane's looking canny. It's nicely in between these 2 buildings here. Now let me ruin that completely by moving this building all the way up to the road. As much as we're just building this section now, the French Quarter's an old section of the city here. That's why it's also tiny and tight and being turned into a one-way system. So I'm going to bring a bit of lane out and then delve into our next building we've got on the list here. The 7 Hills Residence. Now let me casually plonk that down, leaving a gap. Because we're going to be plopping paths in between all of these fancy French residences. So let's shift the 7 Hills residence all the way up to the path there. Oh, and I forgot a crucial part. We're going to have to temporarily delete the residence there. Hopefully no one moved in. Let's get these bridges and pathways disconnected. Fully deleted back to here. And I might have to do something about Pink Lane. We'll see. Because I want to create a proper level here of our fancy buildings that we just plopped down and level out this whole area to that 125 meters. Well, with that all leveled out, we can replop the 7 Hills residence down. And now that we got this building all snugged up to the road here, we can take a 90-degree turn, continue our fancy little one-way system here, so we can delve into our next building, Villa Antiquita. And this is a long boy, innit? I think to make up for its extra length, we're gonna go down to smaller paths for this one. We'll connect that in, we'll get move it out, bring this building all the way in. And before we scooch it up to the road, we're actually gonna have to scooch the road up to the building here. Well, I'm pretty happy with that. Let's continue round the corner. And this is our last building, isn't it? It's gonna be a fun number trying to fit it in here, like. I hope it's a small one if not else. But with a name like Imperium Plaza, oh, it's gonna be a big one. Oh, alright then, let's see how we can fit this bad lad in. Yeah. Oh no, it's bloody huge. And the worst part is, if I line it up with this building, it comes over here with this building. And if I try and line it up with this building, it ends up leaving a huge gap in a proper skew width number. I think I'm gonna have to take this number, skew it in between, proper split the difference type of number here, and then pick somewhere where it's actually wide enough to get a path through. And you know the easiest way to do that's just by popping a bloody path straight through here. Well, now we've got the path in place. Let's get the building looking as smooth as possible. And I reckon that's about as smooth as I can get it there. And I kind of like it. It sort of follows along nicely and then just sticks out at a dodgy angle there. I bloody love it. As a person that has never studied the French architecture, it looks very French to me. And yeah, now look, there may be some problems occurring, but the council have said they'll rebuild this old pub brick by brick. Now the way the council's proposed doing that is by moving all of the bricks to a safe location, stacking them up real nice and tidy like, just until they redo the pink lane in front of the old business and the pedestrian path leading up the side of the railway there. So let's plonk down some roads, and here we have it. Let's see how the good Garbal's truck guns run that bend. Like now tomorrow, does it fit through this gap? Why aye, it does. Never mind all of the people parked in the buildings, that's just how we do it in the French Quarter. It's a bit bloody busy over here, what's the crack? Whoa, 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 what's going on here? This is just supposed to be an emergency services local traffic bridge. Why is everybody using it? I guess they heard about the renos going on in the French Quarter and they're like, I need to be and see it. I love the way it sticks out on the edge there. Proper little wonker. Now before we get too carried away with our lanes and roads, let's sort out this pathway real quick. Ooh, I love all of the interconnecting nodes I'm clocking into there. Let's connect in there and connect all the way up to here. That looks nice, I like that. We've got a nice connection run to that side, which leads you on. Now this is just a little sort of patchwork connection. I'd like to make it a wee bit nicer. Oh, you know what, actually I've just had a little idea. Let's do this idea, shall we? Well, now I've got my pedestrian about knocking about in the middle of the little housing estate here. Let's sort out the surfaces and do a little bit of detailing. There you are, you're walking up Pink Lane and you're like, damn, look at that railway and university. Let me take a shortcut through here. I am feeling a bit peckish like. Oh, is that a food stall? Let me quickly grab a hot dog. And then once you've got your hot dog, you can go and sit down in your little bit of nature here and chomp away. Chomp, 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 chomp. And then continue on your big shortcut way through to the uni. Or maybe directly onto the train tracks. Where are ye's Raji's off to? I'm sure I haven't made anyone homeless out on Terrace Hills for a long time. How are ye's all still getting out? Well, I mean, I am assuming these people are homeless, but that's usually why they're leaving the city and on the railway. Yeah, look at that, moving away. I mean, they do apparently have a house, but hey, they just want to get on the tracks and get out of town. What a scenic walk out of town though, isn't it? The big buildings on your left, the big university and college on your right. I wouldn't want to leave me. But enough of that, we've successfully fancified the French housing estate here. Now it's time to do the rest of the French Quarter. Now part of those joys is making this bit of Pink Lane here all fancy like. And I think my best way of doing that is deleting the roads. So you, Mr. White SUV car, get off there. So I can real precisely plop down some roads and connect it back up. But this time, we're following the building itself. Let me squeeze the road in here, as it was. And then we got Pink Lane following the contour of the building there. I bloody love it. Now the French Quarter, it does spill over into our new fancy section. So I'm going to bring the terrain down to the same level as our reclaimed swamp. And on the outside of the Chinese estate is where we're going to pop some fancy French houses. Now I have had a bit of a play around and I saw some mad little residential buildings in the French pack. They're the medium corners, number 9s. And I'm hoping I can get away with not just tidy little U's like I'm doing now. Because as much as I love me 3 little U's there, I want to try and see how many squares we can fit in here. Right, so I'm making me squares and I'm hoping that the little pink lane at the top there can accommodate at least some of these buildings here. Oh, looks like let me do 1 square at least. Maybe we can get away with a 3x3 in the middle. Oh, aye. I'm keen to make that work like. I'm also keen to make the game crash apparently. I'll see you in about 5 minutes. So I've plopped me little square buildings in. Now unfortunately, we can easily see that this building is near gonna fit, so be gone. And we've only got 3 buildings that don't have any road connections, and we're not even finished building the road connections over here. Now as much as our pedestrians absolutely love walking up and down the Baum Boulevard here for seemingly no reason other than just to walk your dog, we are going to have to bulldoze it. Be gone! We only needed the Baum Boulevard to get the water out of here. And speaking of getting the water out of here, we should have this as a bloody bridge. And it's gonna have to take some MiGly magic to get it done. MiGly magic, of course, just being a couple of gravel roads here. That lets us upgrade in between. And when we delete these gravel roads, we end up with a tidy bit of bridge there for pedestrians to levitate onto. And more importantly, for water to pass through. So without further ado, let's upset some more Frenchmen by dezoning their houses. You know what I've just realised? This whole time I've been using bloody lanes. I'm supposed to be using small pedestrian streets. It's a proper old fancy bit of the city, this. They're not alleyways, they're fancy pedestrian streets. Apart from that one alleyway there, though, there has to be an alleyway so traffic can go both ways. I would upgrade it to be a full pedestrian street, but they are absolutely massive. Look at that. Massive for no reason. You can't be fitting one of them in the old section of the French Quarter, you know? Now what I want to do here is level out some terrain, taking a level from the top of the Seven Hills residence, coming up from this pretty existing little bit of crossing here, looping around the back of these houses, all the way up to the Seven Hills residence. And with that tidy bit of terraforming done, we can get a small pedestrian street out, and using a continuous curve, come out 180 degrees, and then try and sort of bish-bash around until we get to what I reckon is the middle of the little straight bit of the Seven Hills residence there. Because we're going to try our very best to duplicate that exact same thing off this little bit of the Seven Hills residence. Alright, now how does that look? Particularly when I spin this around the correct direction. It looks alright. Not quite symmetrical, but we're not quite done with this bit of road yet either. Let's connect into this existing crossing here. 90 degrees out. And doing a tidy little curve to line up with our tidy little split here. And I like the look of that. Oh, that is a beautiful little road down there. Even if it has left one building without a road connected. Let's see if we can magically get this building connected while we're sorting out this bit of shenanigans here. Well, that looks a little bit nicer, and we got Old Mate connected to power and sewage and everything there. I've stopped finagling with Victoria Street because we need to very swiftly move on to replopping all of these buildings down on this curve here. It's not called Florence Street for now, you know, even if there's not an Italian building in sight. Aye, because as I thought, we're going to have to shift Victoria Street just a little bit to accommodate all this row housing that's getting plunked in here. Well, with me row houses and me hopeful row houses here, let's see about finagling this road properly. And honestly, I think it's probably best if we just redo this road altogether. Alright, we might be onto something here. Oh, particularly with some move it finagling. Oh, I reckon we're in for a good time. Let me quickly finagle all of this and see where I can squeeze it. And after far too much finagling, I think we've got the pedestrian street all up and running there. It snakes on by with little French houses. It snakes past us with a little triangle bit here. I think it looks bloody lovely. And with Pink Lane looking absolutely beautiful, let's sort out this little curve here. Now behold, no, not the post van, the old French bit of the estate here. The big curved street. Look at all of these curved houses perfectly along the line here. It looks bloody lovely, doesn't it? We've even got nice corner units gunning through the alleyway here, which you'll be able to see thanks to our handy dandy post van here gunning around. He's taken one a proper tour of all of the little French estate that we've built here today, hasn't he? Stopping along by the church inn, which does remind me, the council did say they were going to relocate this brick by brick, and I'm actually going to relocate it so we incur a cost. Let's plonk it back on Pink Lane. And then I was a fan of the path that went and connected the bus stop there down, so let's reconnect that in. And now we got a tidy little pathway over top of the little beer garden, connecting into the bus terminus there. And look at how busy the terminus is, as well as the old cable stayed bridge there. I'm loving Split City more and more every bloody episode, yeah. Now I do need to pop one more alley on doing the side here, just so people can park their cars when they're going for a drink, you know. There we go, so we've got Drink Lane off the side of Pink Lane here, leading you to the church inn and bistro. Tell you what, I am bloody happy with this little arch here. It goes around, looks all tidy, follows the road perfectly. We do have to do something with this side of the road, but I'm undecided whether I want to do some sort of hybrid setup between the English and the French and do sort of big buildings either side here. If you have any ideas between a French and English mix that we could do, you know, on this bit of area here, let us know in the comments. I'll be keen to hear it. Well, since we've got our house position finalised over here, let's finish off this bit of quay wall. With that beautiful bit of quay work done there, let's finish up our little Chinese bit of estate here. You know what? I'm doing it. We're going high residential on here. The Chinese love their high residency flats, and there's high demand to live in the reclaimed swamp here. Now that we've got our building in, we need to make sure our keys actually fit. But with the fancy little keys in place, it's time to get the terrain down here. Let the water flow and fill this whole ruddy place up with water. Well, the canal, not the whole French Quarter. Oh, look, I said just the canal, not the whole French Quarter. I have a feeling I know what's happening here. It's because there's this tidy little ramp instead of a flat edge that there should be. So let's get a gravel road out either side of where these keys come out. And that should create a tiny little section of road that I can key up. And you see now the terrain's all sharp, so this water should get away, stop flooding. Nothing else is bloody flooding. I'm pretty sure it's just a wave and it'll be alright. Let's check the actual water flow here on this floodage. Well, if that's an arrowhead, it looks like it's flowing out. Oh no, it's flowing back in. But it's doing the level's doing, that's alright. We've got a tidy little key wall situation. Now all I need to do is shrink this node so we don't have key walls in front of the paths. Well, with that all sorted and looking absolutely perfect, I think it's time we finally sort out the pedestrian access for these houses here. I already have a path coming out the side there, believe it or not, but that's how I measured the gap to ensure that we had a perfect gap in between all of these buildings here. No idea what's happened since. But let's not let the fact that it's magically changed itself bother us. Let's just simply connect on some paths. Look at that, we got pedestrians using our path already. As well as old mate being able to get to him from his house. We just need to sort this fella out now. And I vote for coming off the bottom here, so we can schneck under the railway lines and connect on into this bit of path under here. And look at that, old mate's got the path up and running. And we've got nice connectivity between Terrace Hills and Evergreen Swamp, the new French Quarter. And as we got the train going by there, let's make sure we didn't have any pedestrians using this path onto the train track. And I reckon the easiest way to do that is just by deleting the path and redoing it in a much more efficient fashion. A little something like that, I reckon. Nice tidy bit of connectivity for these pedestrians. And look at our pedestrians, they're cutting through the housing estate there. I love the fact that pedestrians can cut through the houses. It's like the Beavers and Fireside. But the pedestrians are heavily using this new connected bit of road here, as well as they're enjoying Pink Lane being a pedestrian lane. Oh, it's bloody lush, isn't it? And with all of that done there, including our fancy Chinese tower and our even fancier French street. Look at this beautiful French street, man. It curves around just ever so perfectly. And then from the other side, you get to see the Northeast US residential and commercial district over there. Tell you what, it's a bloody busy place to be in. Look at this spiral about in the distance. That is great. I keep forgetting about this spiral about, like. But anywho, enough spiral about action. If we can... look at how good the Seven Hills residence and all of that peeks out over the back there. But as I was going to say, if we come out of this derelict plot of land here, I reckon we might have to treat our French residents to a fancy French park. Maybe an activity playground. Although we do have more room to play with. There is the Color Plaza. Yeah, it's a bit big. If only it was the other say round. Ooh, now the park cafe could be canny. We might even be able to make this fit. That is too close not to make fit, that like. Alright, let's plonk that bad lad on there. Everybody loves that around there. And we do need to come and delete pretty much all of our paths here. And look at this, man. Instantly we got the homeless in. Mate, you're living right next to the transit route. Ask a couple of these Sims for 20 quid each, and then you'll have your bus fare in a couple of weeks. Yeah, now let's jump into Move It Mod. Grab this bit of pathway here so I can bring it outside the building's range, and therefore delete it. And of course we'll want to connect these laddies together in. Oh, I seem to have created a thing. Let's pause the game while I sort the thing out. We may have to just redo this bit of connection here. Alright, now how we're looking. Can pedestrians walk up there? It still doesn't look like it. How have I broken it so bad? Oh no, look, we got new pedestrians where you can... Oh no, they're just turning around even sooner. Right, I'm connecting onto the park first of all here. And that should connect in and allow pedestrians to do what they need to do. Let's hang about here for a sec and check that out. We definitely need to shift the path as well. But I want to make sure it works first, you know. Oh, it's happening now. Here now, look, all the pedestrians are just going around and turning. Right, I'm going to delete the park and we're going to start again. There's the park plopped. Alright, now look at all of those node connecting points on the angle snap there. That has to walk. I've got to connect it up. Name move it mod. What are the pedestrians going to do? They're just going to chuck Uis? Is this park bugged or something? Like, what's the actual crack here? Oh no, look, we got people using it. It looks like we've got a pedestrian at some point along the way is going to successfully turn left here. These ones though, these just chuck Uis. It looks like every path, bar this one again, is working. Nowadays, I truly do not understand why pedestrians won't walk through this bit of the park here. And it's a bit of an issue because that is the only way in and out from underneath here. Well, not strictly the only way, I suppose. The pedestrians will find a way if there's no other alternative. I just can't believe there's apparently no alternative. So let me real casually redo this bit of pathway here and see what happens. Alright, we've got a fancy path back up and running. Now pedestrians, would you mind stop going and doing the motorway and using the fancy path that I've just plopped in for you? And look at that, we've got pedestrians using the bit path. They are doing a bit of a teleport job, like, what's the crack there? You know what, if the pedestrians just want to yeet themselves through the ground, they can. That's fine with me. And with our fancy French park up and running now to manor, why didn't we take a lovely sunset stroll doing our fancy French carved street here? And just appreciate what we've done this episode. We've took the French Quarter from a derelict, forgotten estate from episode 1 and have rejuvenated this district into everyone's envy. But I do hope you have enjoyed this episode as much as I've enjoyed making it. Our swamp reclamation project is coming along very nicely. We still have a few bits we need to bob a boot on. For example, we need to get a lot of pedestrian bridges on the crack. You know, I love me a pedestrian bridge. And I've been working on a technique to get partially keyed roundabouts. So we'll be trying that out in the next episode. And depending on if anybody's left any helpful comments about what we should do the other side of the French street there, do we just do more row housing so it's lined either side of the carved street? Or do we try and get bloody fancy with it? Or I may decide to hop on out of the grafters split. The walls are oyster. Well, specifically the 9 starting tiles of this wall are oyster, but we are gonna lobster it nonetheless in the next episode. I'll see you then, peeps. Doodles!